Hey guys, I'm glad you're able to find this video. Today we are going over how to calculate the surface area of a cylinder. So this one's a little more complicated, only because we have different shapes that we're looking at. So if we take a cylinder and we draw its net, we have three different pieces to this net. We have the rectangle, we have one circle for the bottom, and one circle for the top. So to find the surface area, we have to figure out the volume for each of these and add them together. Doesn't sound much more different than all the other shapes, but there's a couple things that we have to take into consideration. So first, let's look at the circle. So when we have a circle like this, going from the center to one side all the way to the edge is called what? It's called a radius, and it's usually signified with an R. Going from one side through the center point to the other side is called D, or diameter. So when we're looking at this, and when we're looking at the net, you will usually be given two measurements when it comes to a cylinder. You'll be given the height of the cylinder, and you're either going to be given the radius or the diameter. This is important because if you're given the height of the cylinder, that's going to be the height of your rectangle. But what we're not given is we're not given the width, this width of our rectangle. We actually have to calculate it. And the special thing about the width of the rectangle for a cylinder is if you look, this distance right here is going to be the same distance all the way around the circle, because that rectangle has to wrap all the way around the circle. Do you guys remember what the term is when we're talking about going all the way around the circle? It's called C, or circumference. It's like the perimeter, but only for circles. So in this, we actually have to do a few different calculations, because not only do we have to calculate the area of a circle, we also have to figure out its circumference so that we can calculate the, not volume, area of the shapes. So let's start with an example. So this is going to have the height of 10 centimeters, and it's going to have the diameter of 6 centimeters. So, first thing we do, as always, is draw our net. So, when we label, we know that this is 6, as is this, and we know that this height is going to be 10. So how do we figure out the area of a circle? Well, the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. Oh, well, what do we have right now? We have the diameter, because it goes all the way across, of 6, and we have the height of 10. Well, we need the radius. So remember, diameter goes all the way across. Radius only goes halfway across. So to be able to figure out what the radius is from the diameter, all we have to do is take the diameter and divide it by 2. So in this case, it's going to be 6 divided by 2, which will give us 3. So pi is a button that's on your calculator. This is one of the ones that you're going to need a scientific calculator for. It's not always on the other basic calculators. And pi is a number that is, it's never ending. We usually refer to it as 3.14, but if you look on your calculator and you press the button, it's going to continue off the screen. But the button will look like this. So now we have pi times 3 squared. And remember, looking at when we looked at Pythagorean theorem, we talked about squares. So that's the same as saying pi times 3 times 3. So if I plug that in, I'm going to get 28.27. It's going to continue further, but I'm going to stop it there. Okay, so we figured that one out, but now we need our rectangle. Remember, our rectangle, we have the height, but we need the length. And to find the length, we need the circumference. So circumference is 2 pi r. So we already know our r is 3, so it's 2 times pi times 3, which gives us 18.85 centimeters. Now we have what we need to do our calculations. So remember, the circumference is going to be the same as the length. So to figure out the rectangle, we have to do length times height. Well, the length is our 18.85, and our height was our 10. So we have 188.5 centimeters squared. Now the last step is to add them together. So first, how many circles do we have? We have 2, one at the top, one at the bottom. So we're going to have 2 of these 28.27. And one of these 188.5s. So that gives me 245.04 centimeters squared. So like I said, this is quite a bit more of a process than what we've been doing for our previous ones. So let's try another one. Okay, so we want to calculate the surface area of a totem pole. Including the 2 circular ends. The pole stands at 2.4 meters tall and has a diameter of 0.75 meters. And I want the answer to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places. So like all of our other problems, the very first thing we need to do is draw our picture. I'm just drawing the basic cylinder. I'm not going to get fancy. I know totem poles are usually very decorated with the carvings, but we're just going to draw the basic thing right now. So this is 2.4 meters, and the diameter, so all the way across, is 0.75 meters. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, let's draw our net. We know that this distance is 2.4. We know that this distance is 0.75. So let's figure out the area of our circles. Pi r squared. Well, do we have r? No, we have d. So we still have to figure that one out. So remember, to find r, all we have to do is divide d in 2. So pi times 0.375 times 0.375. Gives me 0.4418. So it's a really small number, but we kind of expect that because look at how small this number is. So now we have to figure out our length. So remember, to figure out the length of our rectangle, we need to find out the circumference of our circle, which is 2 pi r. So when I plug it in, I get 2.356. So that gives me my length. So now, the area of the rectangle is going to be 2.356 times our height, which was 2.4 meters. Gives me 5.65. Okay, so now we have the area of our circles. We have the area of our rectangle. Now to find out the total surface area, we have to add them together. So how many circles do I have? 2. So I need that number twice. And then for the rectangle, we only have 1. So this is a really long number, but I said I only wanted it to the 100th. 100th is the second decimal. So 6.5, and because this number is 8, we have to round this up to 4. And this would be meters squared. So for this week's assignment, I'd like you to do page 62, questions 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. And if you want to try it, it's kind of challenging, but question 10 is a really fun one to answer. You just have to really think outside the box, which is kind of funny because it's about a container holding tennis balls. But it's fun to try, but don't feel pressured to do so. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.